Hello, my name is Shirley Self, and I'm here to talk astrology. Tonight I wanted to talk about a chart of a mass murderer. This is one Stephen Paddock. The data on that chart is he was born April 9th, 1953 at 11:05 a.m. in Clinton, Iowa. You're wondering how I got that data? I have connections. I am a member of the National Council for Geocosmic Researchers, and I recommend them highly for information and education. Anyway, here is Stephen Paddock. What I wanted to point out right away is how many planets he's got and points. He's got in here, Chiron at 20, Saturn 24, Neptune 22, Pluto 20, Ascendant 22, Jupiter 23, Venus 25, Sun 19, Mercury 22, Moon 22. The only things exempt from this tight cluster around 20 degrees are the nodes are at in the 10th degree, and he's got this Mars Uranus sextile there in the 15th degree of Taurus and Cancer. So the Mars Aquarius Uranus sextile there is kind of an anomaly in his chart. Does not really fit in. But it was very important in his life. Let's look at this ascendant here, which is ruled by the moon. The moon in 22 Aquarius up there in the 9th house. Moon in Aquarius is not a happy camper. It's alienated. It's unable to make connections to people, or the only thing it really makes a commitment to is ideas, ideals. And it's in the 8th house, which is problematical in that it is it hides there. 8th house stuff tends to want to be hidden. After all, it's the house of sex. The Sun is in a sad situation, although it is conjunct Venus. It is in opposition to this Neptune-Saturn conjunction in Libra. And that is, it's in the house and rules the houses of his parents. That's this axis right here, is the parental axis. And these are the parental houses. This is the midheaven. Up here is your career and your public standing. And down here is your home. That would right away indicate that he did not get along with his parents. Over here, because the Chiron is there on the 7th house cusp, on the 6th house side, that shows that he was born into a fairly uncomfortable situation, one that was incredibly out of balance. The mother and the father did not, it looks like he had a brutal father, actually. The ascendant here is has got Uranus right up there on the in the 12th house. Uranus in the 12th house. It's very uncomfortable. It feels trapped, and it makes you restless. And considering that it's got this sextile to Mars, that's not just restless. That's reckless, disruptive. He was a difficult child, and he had difficult parents. So he fit right in. The result of his trying to deal with his parents, though, was to drive him deeper and deeper into that sense of alienation and that deep, suspicious, secretive Scorpio house, the 8th house of death and sex. He has in his chart 2 T-squares. The first one is he's got the Sun square the ascendant in opposition to Neptune and Saturn. That T-square, the result of that is over here in the 7th house. And relationship will help him deal with this difficult T-square, this disillusioning T-square that he's got here, an inability to trust other people. Well, the other T-square has got Moon, Jupiter, and Pluto. This one I think is even more difficult. The Moon opposite Pluto makes you fearful for your life. And it makes you feel out of control. And other people own you or threaten to own you. And it's all square to Jupiter. Jupiter in Taurus is difficult. It tends to be unlucky because it doesn't focus on the right thing. It tends to focus on earth instead of spirit quite entirely. And it is square Pluto. And a Jupiter square Pluto, these people don't like to follow other people's rules at all. They are virtually a law unto themselves. And that Pluto in Leo and the South Node in Leo means that this law unto himself was not a benevolent thing. He this restlessness and the Jupiter square Pluto, this restless Mars Uranus connection there, and the Jupiter square Pluto, it gave him an outlet in gambling over here in the 5th house. 5th house is the house of gambling. And gaming. Notice that right here is the midpoint of, right in here is the midpoint of this Mars-Uranus sextile, this terrible restlessness that beset him all his life. And so in the 12th house of I'm doing this all by myself and I can ignore everybody here is gaming. And the result was his gambling addiction, if you could call it that, in the 5th house. It was actually a release for him, a release of uncontrolled energy. He has in his chart also 2 yods. Yods are interesting. The yod is a planet that has 2 inconjuncts to it. Let's look at one of his yods here. The Neptune Saturn is sextile to the Pluto, and both of them are inconjunct the Mercury. That is an Robert Pelletier suggests that yods and inconjuncts in general have to do with obligation from some residual guilt from other lifetimes. Obligation. So his Mercury is obliged to do something good for the world, to be of inspiring to the world, to be at least try to understand the world. but he's got so much going against that acceptance of a place in the world. Incredible alienation. Here's you've got the Mars and the Jupiter in the house of alienation. You've got the moon in the sign of alienation, and the Chiron, Pluto, will mean that he is, and that is an inconjunct, will mean that he is alienated from other people. He's obliged to other people. That's the Chiron there. The Chiron is the wounded healer. Now his Chiron is wounded, true, but he is a destroyer, not a hero. That Chiron in the 21st degree of Capricorn is on the south node of Pluto. And so he's unable to do that transformation of himself, his own arrogant, what he does is he uses his energies over other people. He was bossy, he was intolerant. He had one of the problems that you have anybody criticize this man, and there will be an enemy forever. And so you either went along with him or you didn't have anything to do with him, if you were wise. And so because the world didn't go along with him, he was at war. Understand, Aries and Libra are war. And he was born at war, and he died at war. And on October 1st, he went to war. And let's see if there's anything more I want to talk. Oh, yes. The Mercury is at a fixed star. You know how I love the fixed stars, love and fear. It's the fixed star in the 23rd degrees of Pisces is called Markab, and it's also called the degree of sorrow. Now, fixed stars give you an awful lot of power, but they will also, because Mercury's there on Markab, the degree of sorrow, it makes your head strong and rash and totally unable to take any criticism, which considering down here, over here, imagine people did criticize him, his relatives criticized him, perhaps his brother criticized him. They would not have been his friends for long. He was unforgiving. That's that moon in Aquarius in the 8th house. The moon opposite Pluto is incredibly unforgiving. And the Jupiter will convince him that he's absolutely right in any opinion he wants to take. So, let's talk about the event. This is Stephen Paddock in the middle, and these angles are his angles, and this is the event of the mass murder that he committed on the outside. The ascendant of this event is up here on the cusp of his 12th house of plotting. The descendant is over here, and it has Saturn, and at 22, another 22 degree of Sagittarius over there on the descendant of the event chart. Saturn had come to his 6th house, Pollux 6th house. And we already know that he was fairly defective in Sagittarius because that's on the cusp of the 6th house. And what you have on the cusp of the 6th house is that's what you have to work on. And the way you tend to have to work on that is by going into service for other people, starting at the bottom, so to speak. And he was totally unable to do that because he felt no obligation to other people at all, in spite of his 2 very specific yods. that said, try to be of service to somebody else. You've got all this guilt that you need to pay reparations. He was unable to do that. On the midheaven here on this chart is 0 Pisces. So on the midheaven of the event, we've got Neptune, which shows a terrible loss. The moon in Aquarius, and the south node, note the south node in Aquarius, had come right to his moon. The Venus-Mars were opposite Neptune, up there, transiting Neptune. What else we got here? Oh, Uranus was on his Venus, had been on his Venus and had been running back and forth. Uranus has been coming back and forth across here for quite a while. I can attest to that because my Saturn is right there. And that is why I'm having so much fun and why I can't really sew anything without stabbing my fingers. Because it makes you tremble. It makes you nervous. And for him, because Uranus rules that moon, and his natal Uranus is in that entrapped 12th house. So you might say that the Uranus on his Venus made him a touch restless, and it provoked this terrible hatred, terrible disillusionment with the world in general and other people in particular. Okay, the Pluto has come to the cusp of his 7th house, and that Pluto, remember how difficult that Pluto is for him. Here, it's at 20 degrees. It's connected to everything. The Pluto's connected to everything. Everything except the Mars and the Uranus. And if you've got a good Mars-Uranus, you don't need a Pluto. You're just already pissed off enough to do something suddenly. And not that he did this suddenly. He was a planner. The Saturn in Libra is a very competent planner. And so what he was concocting, notice the work, all the Virgo work he did of getting the situation set up for his assault on the world. And he did an awful lot of damage. He did an awful lot of damage. And that is a problem of alienated people, you know. Our society doesn't, we're not close enough. The United States has a moon right there in Aquarius, and we just aren't connected very well. And so people in this country, it's easy to fall between the cracks. If you don't have family, you don't have a tribe, you don't have, fellow warriors to help you and to be honest with you, you can't. It's hard for you to live. It's hard for you to live a good and productive life. And he didn't. He didn't. This chart, his chart, let me show you that one again. It brought to mind a poem by William Butler Yeats. His poem is from The Stairs Nest by My Window. And in it he said, "We had fed the heart on fantasies. The heart's grown brutal from the fair. More substance in our enmities than in our love." And boy, he is an example of that. Anyway, I just showed you that so that you, just for educational purposes, not because I wanted to advertise this man. I just wanted to show what alienation can do for you and to you. Death wish.